So whoever installed this originally didn't have the right size drill bit. They went with a Mondo drill bit, and they also damaged the wall. Hello and welcome to My Man the Maker. We're back in the bathroom today because the shower apparatus is flopping around because whoever installed it used crappy wall plugs and the wrong size drill bit. Wall plugs aren't supposed to be able to just like slide in and out like that. This wall plug is too small. So this looks like a 6mm wall plug in an 8mm hole. That's no good. So let's see what these wall plugs will do. And that one goes in correctly because it's the correct size. Now that's an 8mm wall plug. 6mm wall plugs just won't work. They look like this. And they're significantly smaller when you look down the barrel. Right? So we want Mr. Left, not Mr. Right. So whoever installed this originally didn't have the right size drill bit. They went with a Mondo drill bit, and they also damaged the wall. And then jammed in these things, tightened it up, walked away, and then the minute you start working with this long handle thingy we have here, should you play with that, it starts flopping side to side. So what we're going to do is pull out these crapola white 6mm plugs, put in 8mm plugs, and reinstall. Shouldn't take any time at all, but just so you know, if you were going to, okay, let's say you don't have the right size plug. This happens. In fact, I only have 3 of these blue guys. I have lots, like 50 of these little green guys. So what do? Well, what you do is you cut one of these guys down that thin line there and you jam it in. And what it does is it builds up the 6mm to 8 by hammering in something alongside to give the screw, once it enters, the screw will expand the plastic and everything will be held in by tension. So that's how you do it. Or you take one of my favorite things, chopstick, and you hammer it right down the center, and then you drill a pilot hole and the screw goes in there. But as is, and as you can see, this 6mm, it's just, there ain't nothing there to hold it. And putting a screw in there is really not going to do much. I mean, you want to have to hammer in this wall plug, and then when the screw goes in, it expands that. So this one, even this one's looking a little, you know, it's a little loosey-goosey there, but we'll see how that works out. Because it only goes in, it's quite a long screw, and it does apparently taper in. So what happened was probably an old bit or the wrong bit was used, and whoever put it in kind of maybe went around in a bit of a circular motion. So that's a conical hole, and that's also a real problem. So I guess what I'll do is I'm not going to play too much with that, you know, building in the hole this time around, but you can always do something. And chopsticks are cheap and they hammer in real nice. Then you cut them off, and then you just give yourself a little tiny pilot hole, and that screw will go right in there and nothing will ever come out. For this time around, we're just going to use the appropriate plug. I'm going to yank out this guy. But what I would do if I only had these white plugs is I would find a third one, and I cut it in half, and I would poke it right in that hole to give enough bite to the screw so the screw will fit in there. But I don't need to do that this time, so I'm going to use the right plug in the right place. So here I go. Okay, here we go. We're going to just use a pair of needle nose pliers, and you really shouldn't be able to just pull out a wall plug like that. This hole's way, way, way too big for this plug. It might even, I mean, it's not even round, I think, by the look of it. We'll see what a blue will do in there. I may have to hammer a chopstick in there, even with a blue. So let's get this blue in there. That's just, wow. Yeah, that's just great. Let's see if we tap it in with the hammer and see what happens. Okay. Went in real easy. That's not good. Let's try another one. We may have to stuff these holes. Okay, this guy, there's a little bit of resistance there. All right, see him pushing with the thumb. That's better. So the top's looking looser than the bottom. Just tap that guy in. Okay, we don't want to break the tile, so what we're going to do is find something to hit to knock that in. Typically I would use a little piece of wood, so that's what I'm going to go and find. Okay, so what we're going to do is this is kind of reached the point where it's fighting a bit too much, so you just put a piece of wood across it, whack it in. And it looks like it's in all the way. And you tap this guy in too. This one looks really loose. So what we're going to do is we're going to stuff a little piece of green in there to expand that when the screw goes in. And this one is too long. It's in all the way. So we're going to have to cut that off with a knife. So let's do the bottom one first. So what I'll use usually is I'll go with the diagonal cutters and I'll just push in the center here to flush them up against the wall. Okay, and if that's not enough, then I call upon my utility knife. And that's usually pretty good. So this one's probably okay. This one, it's got a lot of play. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this little green and we're going to split it along here safely and then hammer in 1/3 of it. So what you do is you take your diagonal cutters and you cut. You unzip this little guy with the cutters, bit by bit. There, about halfway down this way. There, see? Now this thing is in 3 pieces, and they're kind of cylindrical each way. Doesn't matter which one you pick. So we're just going to go after this one. That way, and that way. There we go. And then we're going to trim it off. Give yourself a little bit of a point. So you got easy entry. And you stick it right in there. And if it's too ragged, like this one seems to be, you kind of make it smooth so it'll go glide in there. Take your time and don't cut yourself. It's feeling okay. Maybe just a little bit here. There we go. Which end are we going to put in there? Make sense. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Then you take your little hammer and you ever so gently convince it. There. Now, when a screw goes in there, it's going to grip. When a screw goes in here, it's going to grip. This one's tighter than the top one. And that's how you make up for somebody using a drill improperly when installing all this stuff. Okay, so let's assemble this little guy. You're going to wiggle it to make sure you don't have any slack in there. And then take off the slack. Okay. Yeah, that's nice and solid. That is not going anywhere. Okay. That little click tells me I've gone just about as far as I can. Then you thread this little guy in. There we go. Back up the screw a bit. There, top first. As tight as you can without breaking the silly thing. And then some of these sets have like a rubber fitting that goes against the wall that gives you a bit of cushioning and also give, because this one's going over a joint. So this tile is actually sticking out more than this tile. I can feel it, which means that this is not tabling out correctly. So it's going to have a little bit of play. So what would make this work better is a little rubber fitting on the base. The more expensive sets have it. This one's pretty solid too. And let's crank that in there. Yeah, it's feeling pretty solid. This top is always going to loosen because of that lack. So what I can do later, if this thing loosens up again, I'm going to make a rubber foot for it. We'll see how it works out. And then this little guy, I found out something about this. This rubber seating kind of goes in, but if you're too rough on it, you can pop that right out, and then you end up with this and this. So the way this works is that little cavity fits on the inside of the mechanism. So don't get freaked out if it pops out. You just put it back in with your finger. It's all good. Just like that. And then it disappears. And what I want to do is I actually want to mount this on the top, maybe this way, because the shower head's not high enough for me. There we go. All right, that's feeling pretty good. And now I can just pop. Okay, that's upside down. Pop in my shower head nice and high. And then what you do is you go looking around for the caps. So I got a cap, probably fits here. Probably looks better this way. I got a cap that Pops in here. Come on, you. There we go. And I have another cap for the base, which is here. There. Now, much more stable. But I have a feeling this top is going to get loose and loose and loose because of the fact that these two tiles are at a different height. And like I said, the way to fix that is you get yourself a black rubber, what would I call it? I would call it a gasket. And it sits maybe 1 millimeter, and it sits between this and the wall, cups it, and prevents it from doing that by providing some fill. But for now, this is the way I want it to be. And the next thing I'm going to do is get a shorter neck, maybe to about here. And that means the hose will come down and not interfere with the water play, which is what it's doing right now. And maybe a better decorative cap. So I'm just going to get myself a nice short stem. Maybe a right angle stem so it's pointing straight down. And that would be quite attractive, and then this would be a non-issue because it would be about here. So that's what Mrs. Maker wanted. She wanted a shower that was a little more workable. We're going to put a much longer cord on this, 2 meters. We're going to get a different type of cord. And if I can find it, I'm going to get myself a right angle shower neck and a better decorative cap. So that this flexible hose doesn't go beyond this. So ideally I'd like it to just go down and loop around quite low and come back up here. I think it'll be a lot better. But for now, the thing that was driving me crazy was this rod was really loose. No longer. Well, that's it for now. Take care and keep making.
I hope you liked this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, giving me a like, and leaving me a comment. I really enjoy making these videos, and I want to know from you how I can make them better. The whole point of these videos is to demonstrate that if I can do something, you can do it too. Well, that's it for now. So long, and remember, keep making.